Good evening, everyone. It's a privilege and an honor to welcome you to today's session with one of the most iconic voices in Indian business, an esteemed advisory board member of India Leadership Council, Mr. Narayan Murthy. I'm Anika Mohan. I'm Anika Mohla, and I head content for the business communities vertical at ETH. We're especially grateful to Mr. Murthy and the Catamaran team for so graciously hosting the council members today. Thank you, sir, for making space for us for this dialogue, intellectually and physically both. Our theme today is the power of purpose, creating value beyond valuation. It's a topic that feels especially timely in a world that's defined by short-term gains, by valuation changes, hypergrowth. But it's also a topic that comes alive most powerfully in the presence of someone like Mr. Murthy, whose leadership offers living proof that it is indeed possible to build enduring institutions while staying anchored in values, simplicity, and purpose. From founding Infosys with $250 to building it to one of India's most respected global companies, his journey has though never been about numbers. It has been about integrity, humility, and a deep belief that business must serve society. Through this session, we hope to learn from his vast experience on what does it take to build institutions that last. Can you scale without compromising on ethics? And what kind of India must we aspire to create by 2047, and the role private enterprise must play in getting us there? To moderate the session, I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Darshan Shantamurthy,
Thank you.
founder and CEO of CISA Information Security,
Thank you.
and a valued member of India Leadership Council. A leader who understands both the technical and ethical complexities of modern business, Darshan will help us explore not just the how, but the why of behind enduring leadership. The flow of the evening is simple. We will begin with a 40-minute moderated conversation between Darshan and Mr. Murthy, and then open it up for another 40 minutes for Q&A with all of you. Thank you again, Mr. Murthy, for your time and generosity. For many in the room today, this is more than a mentorship session. It is a chance to reflect, reset, and renew our understanding of what leadership is. With that, Darshan, over to you.
Thank you, Anika. Thank you for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of interacting with my own personal role model. I've always grown up watching Mr. Murthy, of course in the newspapers, but now I have the good fortune of sharing the dais. I think it's a dream come true. So I'm sure all of us in the room would feel equally elated that we are in the presence of as iconic as Mr. Murthy is, and I'll try to do justice to this time that we have with him today. Starting off, sir, you've been epitome of values and simplicity, and we can see all that in quite different from the leaders that we see today. So where everything is glorified in terms of speed, scale, valuation. So your one value, young leaders. What's your in terms of the young leaders today? One of the key things, how would you actually articulate or communicate in terms of how important values is compared to valuation, speed, and scale? Your thoughts, sir, on that particular subject?
Well, before I answer your question, let me welcome you all to the office of Catamaran. Till I was 75, which was 5 years ago, now I am 80, I used to sit here. When I turned 75, I renounced all my interest in business, and therefore I come here very rarely. Unless there is an opportunity like this, I don't come here. Second, I learned about 50 to 53 years ago that the only way a country can solve the problem of poverty is through cultural transformation which will automatically lead to economic transformation. Culture is, as Max Weber said, is what we are, what we value, what we don't like, what brings us joy, how we spend our time, who our friends are, etc., etc. And once you bring in cultural transformation, economic transformation becomes easier. In fact, as all of you know, Max Weber compared Anglo-Germanic countries with Latin countries of Europe. The Anglo-Germanic countries that he looked at were England, Britain, then Holland, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, etc. While the Latin countries he looked at were primarily Portugal, Spain, Italy, and to some extent France. And he came to the conclusion that because the culture of Latin countries was so different from the culture of Anglo-Germanic countries in terms of work ethic, in terms of honesty, in terms of good public governance, etc., etc. The Anglo-Germanic countries were growing faster. This, as you know, he did that almost 170, 80 years ago, whatever it is. Now, in this country, while all of you assembled here are the engines of economic growth, to have 60, 70 extraordinary people with so much of enthusiasm, so much of desire to do better for the country, and in the process enrich themselves. There is nothing wrong with that. This is the positive side of our story. But for some reason, we have not looked at cultural transformation at all. If you look at our political leadership, there are exceptions, definitely, there is no doubt, but by and large, corruption is large. There is no focus on speed of action. There is no focus on excellence in execution. There is no focus on transparency. So, we are caught in this web. On the one hand, people like you are trying to pull this cart with as much of enthusiasm and gusto as is possible for you people, for which all of us would be very grateful. But at the same time, for some reason, neither our political masters nor our bureaucracy have understood the importance of making life easier for you people. The level of corruption, I don't want, I have umpteen data points, I don't make statements without data points, umpteen data, but this is not the occasion to. I see corruption increasing year by year, year by year. So, India has a very huge challenge. But what is very appreciable is your enthusiasm, your energy, your aspirations, your hope, your confidence to achieve the plausibly impossible despite the odds that we face from the powers that are in this country. I was in Barcelona last month, and I met a couple of Spanish business people, and they said, look, your country is very difficult to do business with. We have closed our thing and come. That was not a very interesting thing to hear. So, before I go any further, let me say that I am very proud of every one of you here. I am very grateful to every one of you, because fighting such a battle is not very easy. If you people were in perhaps a country like Singapore or UK or Holland, about 50% of your time would have been released to work on innovation and new ideas. Anyway, so my sincere thanks to everybody here. Now, you asked me a question on, can you put it in a simple sentence, your question? That is what I had requested you earlier. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Just
So,
one simple sentence.
So you've been talking about values and simplicity, and compared to the modern quest towards valuation, how do you, what's your guiding mantra to young leaders?
See, entrepreneurship is about converting an idea into jobs for people, into wealth for the entrepreneurs and their investors, and most importantly into tax for the nation, so that the nation can use the tax money honestly to enhance common goods for people. So, one of the tenets of entrepreneurship is to create wealth out of ideas. So, at one level, there is nothing wrong with youngsters wanting good valuation, a higher PE. However, the problem with focusing purely on valuation means that in good times, like it happened 4 or 5 years ago, when Masayoshi Son got some free money from Alibaba and then he started spraying and praying. So, in those days, lot of not so good ideas also get lot of money. And you know very well, better than I do, that it is the market that determines the price of any idea, the value of any idea, because economists say price is what you pay, value is what you see. So, when you get valued rather high, you believe that this is what the market feels, this is what I deserve. But the problem with such high valuations is you also start spending a lot of money. You also lose focus on getting value for money. And you also start spending money on non-essentials. I mean, Catamaran gets so many entrepreneurs, so we have studied all of that. So while valuation per se is not a bad thing, focusing unduly on valuation and pegging your expenses based on valuation is very dangerous, because most of these so-called unicorns have all been loss making. What does it mean? You spend more than you earn. Why do you spend? Because there is some idiot who is writing check for you. And when the musical chair stops, a few people will be left standing. So, and that is a very uncomfortable thing. That is when lot of people resort to unethical and illegal things. We have all seen Baiju Ravindran, many of them, I do not need to explain to you. So, while you want higher and higher valuation, the way to look at it right from the beginning is give a reasonable period to get to steady state in terms of revenues and expenses, in terms of operating margin, and though you may say I will make loss for 3 years, 4 years, that is fine, understandable. But from that time onwards, you should focus on growth in earnings per share, because unless there is growth in earnings per share, you will not be in a position to reward your investors adequately. And if you do not reward your investors adequately, next time they will not trust you. There is nothing as important as trust. I have seen so many people who are well-to-do business people, but I have sat in Prime Minister's Council of Industry and Trade or whatever it is, not the current, in the last 10 years I have not taken any interest. Before that, invariably I have seen, whether it was Sri Vajpayee, whether it was Dr. Manmohan Singh, invariably they respected people who may not have been as big as some of these names, but people who conducted their businesses based on values. We all know that when Mahatma Gandhi died, he had no official position, but so many presidents, prime ministers, they came for his funeral. So, in the end, I think respect from your stakeholders is longer lasting than a little bit of money that you will make. Being 80, I can tell you that today I have to eat less, I have to I sleep less, I can't get good sleep. And how much I can wear, what car can I, it doesn't make sense. On the other hand, if you can bring smile onto the face of people who work with you, people whose families depend on you, people whose children education depends on you, I think that is an extraordinary thing. So, I would say that there is nothing wrong with valuation as long as it is based on justifiable parameters, as long as it is based on growth in earnings per share, then that is something that will be there to stay. But if it is because somebody had too much of free money and he sprayed and prayed, that will not help you. So, that is what I would say.
Sure, sir, sure. One follow-up there is generally entrepreneurs have peer pressure when you see another company getting valued much higher than your company. I mean, your take on such kind of peer pressure? I mean, just
the question once again, say it in a simple sentence.
If other company actually gets valued higher than your company, how do you essentially see that coming through?
No, I think life is like that. You see, till 2002 when I was the CEO, other than the GE business which I myself gave up, Infosys revenue was higher than TCS, and Infosys profitability was much higher than TCS. But then it changes. They got good leaders, they worked very hard, they had smart ideas. So today they are ahead of us by probably 40% in revenue. We are about 20 and they are about 28 or something. Their market cap is much higher than ours. So these things happen because corporations have a cycle of getting good and not so good leaders. Every corporation, there is no exception. Now, there are two ways of reacting to it. One is to say, let me learn from those people. What are the good things they are doing? What are the new innovations they are bringing to the table? And see if we too can do those. Second is to feel jealous and trash them. I think that doesn't help. You see, when you do it, it is only your stomach that gets burned, not the successful parties. And this is where I still remember it was 1992 or so. I went to listen to a lecture by late Rahul Bajaj, and after the lecture, I was a nobody. I just went to him and asked, which management guru should I follow? Rahul was Rahul, very combative. He would say anything he wanted. Later on, he became a very close friend. He said, don't be foolish. Don't follow any management expert. Study your competition. Learn from your competition and see if you catch up and go ahead of the competition. He said that the best management guru you have is your competition. So therefore, I would say that the best thing that we can all do is to study our competition, ideally on a global basis, not just India basis, and learn whatever good they have done, why they are leading, why they are so much better than you in revenue, in profitability, in market cap, etc., etc., obviously in earnings per share growth, all of that. And if you create an environment in your company where your younger colleagues too can come out with some of those new ideas, then you also will become better. The beauty of knowledge is, by and large, it is free. Today, particularly in the context of internet, there is absolutely no hesitation in saying that it is free. But the biggest problem we all have is our mindset. We do not want to open our eyes. We do not want to listen to others. We do not want to read. We do not want to observe the market. We do not want to observe our competitors. So, if you people create an environment where your younger colleagues would study the market, would study why some people are doing better than us, what is it, what is the magic they have, I think then you people will, it will take some time, but you will close it.
Sure, sir. One question, I mean, you opened up rightly with the constraints that we have as a country for entrepreneurs. But as I mean, I'm sure you face much higher with Infosys. I mean, and you proved it that it is doable by maintaining values and scaling. So, any message around that, because the same constraint or even higher constraints is what you faced when you built Infosys. So you have showed it, it's possible. So
no, again, once again, please frame the question in a straightforward, simple way.
Sure, sir. So with
see, the problem I find with Indians is, for some reason, please don't mistake me.
Please, sir, please, yes. Yeah.
You know, we give speeches, we don't answer a question. So, if we can express our question in a simple sentence, it will be easier for the other party also to understand. Just kindly frame it.
Sure, sir. You spoke, how did you scale Infosys with keeping model values in place? That's the question.
Okay. Well, scaling up a company requires scaling up people, scaling up systems, scaling up processes, scaling up your various entities like customers, employees, investors, vendor partners, etc., etc. But the most important instrument for scaling up is building systems. Most companies suffer because they do not build systems. And when you do not build systems, as you people know, a human being can handle at best 7 parameters. University of Pennsylvania conducted a study about 40 years ago, and they came to the conclusion that if you go beyond 7 parameters at a time simultaneously, human beings get confused. What the systems do is to provide you the snapshot of the various aspects of the system while limiting the number of parameters to less than 7. So, the first requirement is system. The second thing is a very good human resources department to recruit high quality people. My own view is that a good leader is one who is confident enough to hire people smarter than himself or herself. That is easier said than done, because we have huge ego. Just because I am sitting in some chair, I think I am smarter than the other people. And I try to express it in many times in crude forms too. So, your challenge is to recruit people smarter than you. You cannot be the limit of smartness in your company. If it is, then there is some problem. Second thing is, you must have a very good training school in your company, because business models change, technology changes, new competitors come, you start selling in new countries, customer preferences change. So, the only constant for you is change. Therefore, whether it is Infosys or General Electric or Unilever, what I have found common in all these companies is that there is a very good training program, and that is also the way to accelerate the knowledge, the decision making and the learnability of people in the company. So, therefore, focus on training these people. First, select good people. Second, train them. Third, you have to empower. Empowerment is all about communicating to your younger colleagues that whatever the organization does, it will provide opportunity for both the organization and the individual to grow at the same time. It cannot be that only the organization grows and that individual does not grow, then he or she will lose interest in the company. It cannot be that only the individual grows, that happens in many family owned companies, but the company does not grow. That also will not work. So, you have to create an enabling system wherein, or empowering system wherein you clearly lay out your vision as to what is the path that the company has to take, and in that path how will each individual find better and better opportunities, better emoluments, better respect, better recognition, etc. Once you do that, everybody is enthusiastic, because one thing you have to remember, in the office you may be extremely tough with a clerk or a peon or a driver, but one thing we all forget at that time, and that is, when he goes home, his children look up to him or her, his spouse looks up to him or her. His parents have a lot of confidence in that individual. If you take away the confidence and self-esteem of that individual in the office, it slowly starts eroding. So, it is very, very important for you to create an empowering regime where both the institution and the individual grow. And then of course, there is technology, all others, I do not want to get to that. So,
Sure. One last question before I
Sure.
open it up for audience. Three things that you believe for a developed nation, for India to turn into a developed nation.
For me, developed nation is not economic growth. Somehow in this country we have confused ourselves that developed nation is economic growth. That is not. I have traveled about 80, 90 nations. I have lived in France. I have spent a lot of time in the US and perhaps UK. But what I have found as the major difference between the developed world and the developing world is culture. What do I mean by that? In the developed world, a driver is very comfortable to sit with the CEO and interact with him almost as an equal. I would not say as an equal, I may be exaggerating a little bit, but still he has no hesitation to think. In India, can you make that happen? Second, here the public governance system plays a big role. We have already talked about there is corruption, there is nepotism, either nepotism or corruption, only two things work in India. And this is something that is the difference I have found between the developed world and the developing nation. I used to be an independent director of HSBC in London, HSBC Global, and along with me a former cabinet secretary of the UK was there. We became a good friend, and I asked him, I do not want to mention his name, but man, because it is being recorded, it is not fair to him. Man, why did you people create such bad bureaucracy for us in India? He said, I do not drink, but he had one, too many perhaps. He said, no, we did not do that. You go to any function in the UK, any function that provides you some facility and ask for it. If you are eligible to get that service, you will invariably get that service on time without you having to ask it for a second time. Both my children live in the UK. They have got 10 tax residency certificates for 10 years, probably maybe one at least more. They do not know where that office is, they do not know who that officer is, everything is done online and they just get it. They do not have to call a second time. Try this with our income tax office. Second, I do not know how many of you read 3-4 days ago, my friend Swaminathan Ankleshwari Iyer wrote a piece in Times of India where he said, one of the entrepreneurs who wanted to start a solar energy company he found that there were 2,375 approvals. Please see about, if you go through the last 1 week's Times of India and look at Swaminathan Ankaleshwarya IS piece, you will see. This is 2025 July probably, or I don't know, August.
Yeah.
August. 2,375 approvals. This is that. So it is Swami's thing. I have not made it up. This is culture. We all say, everybody, every politician says, every bureaucrat says, we are all servants of the people. But in their action, there is zero attitude of being a servant. Forget about servant. I mean, they can treat us as equals. They can do the work, I can do the work. No, it's not. So for me, a developed nation is, and second, while India has been growing, there are more billionaires coming up, middle class is growing, probably we may be at 100 million middle class people. The tragedy of the remaining 1,300 million Indians is pathetic. That is what development, being a developed world is. Only when the poorest child in the remotest village in India has decent access to nutrition, healthcare, education or shelter and education, then you can claim that we have become a developed nation. I don't know why somebody invented this, by 2047 it will be this thing, I mean, meaningless. Nobody in India is working on this. You know, I am sure all of you have seen. The other day, I went to a friend's place in a city in India, I don't want to give date. It's a huge place. And I was going through that and I found that the room for the cook, there were no windows. It was 8 feet by 8 feet. No windows for the room where the cook lives. But it's all huge, huge drawing rooms, huge bedrooms, everything. There was no air conditioning there. There was not even a fan. This is the house of a fairly very rich man in India. This to me is culture. Try and do it in UK? No, you cannot do that. That to me is when India can claim to become a developed nation. I think we are a long way, probably thousands of years away from that kind of change. Now, that kind of change will happen if everybody is starting from the biggest leader, the biggest businessman, talk about making it happen and not just talk, show like Mahatma Gandhi did by action. Then yes, you will see that happen. But is it is happening around here? No, zero. This is I am talking about just a week before. Huge house of about 9,000 square feet and the cook had a 8 feet by 8 feet room without for a fan, without an air conditioner and no windows. This is why India will always remain a backward country. Not because we, our middle class 200 will become 250, 300, that is all very simple. That is not as difficult as making your peon or your cook sitting with you at dinner. Try and practice it when you go home. That to me is the real real progress. Once you do that, economic progress is not that difficult. So that's
Sure, sir. Sure. Culture is important. I think with that note, open up question. Yes, go ahead. Sir. Yeah, if you can.
Good evening,
brief. Yeah.
Mr. Narayan Murthy.
yeah.
We're all your fans. We have seen Infosys grow from, I think when you went public, it was valued less than 1,000 crores.
Sorry, hold it near your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all seen the growth of Infosys and Mr. Narayan Murthy into preeminence and into such an accomplished state. From the time Infosys went public, I've been a big fan. It was, I think, valued less than 1,000 crores. Now it is more than 5 lakh crore. That journey is something which is unparalleled. It's so great to see you in live.
Just hold it near your
and,
mouth.
and sorry.
Yeah.
For me particularly, I grew up in Jayanagar 5th block, not far from where you had your
wonderful.
first office.
Nearby.
Nearby, and I have virtually had the privilege of seeing you in action at that stage and to now. From our hearts, I'm sure all of us here share the same thing. Compliments to you, and from our side, best wishes as well.
Thank you.
I have one question. That was
Yeah.
a compliment,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
my one question.
Yeah.
Whether it's a service company like Infosys
Yeah.
or the industry like we all come from. By the way, I do executive search. My name is R. Suresh.
Yeah.
We've all faced technology changes and the very commonly used word disruption with ease. But the current technology revolution sweeping the world, the AI and data revolution, do you think the world has taken grip of? Do you think finally human existence itself being under scanner is a hype and people will come to terms to live with AI?
You know, Stephen Wolfram, the creator of Mathematica, is a good friend of mine. Stephen is an extraordinary guy. He completed his PhD in physics at the age of 21, and he created Mathematica. His view and my view is that the human mind is the most powerful instrument that will ever be invented. It is at a meta level. If you create an AI machine, it can be a robo, it can be an expert system, it can be a supervised algorithm, or a trainable algorithm, it can be a self-learning algorithm. These are the 4 things. At the end of the day, these are all the creation of human mind. I personally believe that while there will be areas where human beings will graduate from a drudgery level of job to a more thinking level of job, thanks to every technology. You know, AI is no exception. The power of human mind will remain the ultimate power. Yes, in the area of autonomous cars, yeah, lots of drivers will lose, which is good in India if we have autonomous cars. I think those cars will drive better, they won't honk unnecessarily, they won't overtake from the wrong side, all of that, for which we should be thankful, right. However, similarly in robotic surgery, you and I will be much happier to have a robo conduct a surgery on us than a human being, because these are all trained to do precision stuff. Similarly, in hazardous situations, machines, the robots will do better. So, there are areas where we will lose jobs at one level, but if people assembled here, you are all leaders of your companies, if you start providing opportunities and train your people on the next level of jobs, the company will grow, they will do better jobs, and they will actually get better salaries. I will give you two examples. About 3 years ago, my son started haranguing me about my not using LLMs and generative AI and all. What is this? You are in Stone Age and this and that. So I said one day, yeah, maybe I will do. Over the last 3 years, almost every speech of mine, the draft is written by generative AI. What I have observed is, the more time I spend in preparing better quality prompts, better is the draft. So, the point I am making is simply this: just in my own industry, even in situations where programs can be written by AI algorithms, the difference between an efficient algorithm and a not so efficient algorithm will depend on the quality of prompts, on the quality of prompts put in by these two programmers. That is your job as leaders of your companies. You will have to leverage that competitive advantage compared to your competitors and offer that to your customers. Then your employees are happy, you are happy because you get better realization, your customers are happy, and this AI will do the drudgery work of going through the entire LLM and then produce a good program. That is one example. Well, even in this, not many of us have used self-learning algorithms. Most of what we talk about, everybody and his brother writing, is all about generative AI. But generative AI is not self-learning. Generative AI is, by and large, it is a trained algorithm. It's not that difficult. It's not that complicated. The real, if you want to move towards how human beings think, even to achieve 5% of that, all of us have to focus on self-learning algorithms, deep learning, neural networks. I do not see, in India at least, not too many people have used any of this. But everybody says, even government fellows are saying we are using AI. I do not know what they are using. Now, coming to the second example, in 1971, Britain was the first country in the world to introduce a core banking system for banks. The union in the UK, they went on strike. So, at that time, I think it was Ted Heath, Conservative, who was the Prime Minister, and Ted Heath did a very smart thing. he invited professors from Manchester, Oxford, Cambridge, Southampton and Edinburgh, plus a few CEOs, and he created a platform where the union leaders could ask whatever questions they had, and these professors will explain. And these professors and the CEOs told those union guys, your drudgery job will be replaced by customer interface jobs, will be replaced by thinking about how to bring in more customers, how to make life more comfortable for customers, etc., etc. And the union agreed. We all know that even in India, when the first computerization came, when Finacle and others were introduced, that was about 89. The number of ATMs multiplied by a large number, the number of branches multiplied by a large number, the job opportunities multiplied by 100, more than 100 I am saying. So, there was no job loss thanks to core banking computerization, core banking system. So, but all of that happened because people like you sat down, read about these things, the pluses and minuses, perhaps attended one or two international conferences and understood what are the opportunities and challenges and how best to sell it to your people and how best to create an environment where they will actually become better. See, instead of writing articles and getting worried, this will happen, that will happen, if only I see more articles on how using self-learning algorithms, using even structured or trainable algorithms, how we can improve the quality of jobs and what are the new opportunities for jobs, I think we will be so much better. UK did it once, it already did, but there will be a few areas where you will have to create safeguards or guardrails as they call when you are using self-learning algorithms, because in self-learning algorithms it may learn the wrong thing and it may do something. I do not know how many of you know, I think last year or so, this is not well publicized, in one of the developed countries they were training an AI algorithm using deep learning and neural networks to shoot at a target very precisely. Unfortunately, what that algorithm did not cover was a situation where there was a human being walking in front of the wall where all this algorithm was to guide shooting, and that soldier got killed. Of course, they suppressed it. It came in newspaper for a day, then they suppressed it to the military. So, I think the responsibility lies with people like you who are well educated, who are confident, who have seen the world, who travel a lot all over the world, who read a lot. So, I think it is your responsibility to educate the union people or educate the low level workers, not just educate, but also create higher quality jobs. and focus on how do I make the life of the customer better. So, I am not worried about these. The world has not come to an end, the world will not come to an end. There will be lot more inventions that will come up.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming over here and addressing us.
Speak a little bit louder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have all grown up looking at you and Nandan sir and Mohandas Pai, and all of you have been like the stalwarts and the epitome of India's growth story. And you mentioned about the value system, especially in the country, being a challenge to bring about the change. But you all did it, right? So you grew up in the same cultural ecosystem and made it happen. And being inspired, a lot of us are still here and not outside the country to make this happen. One of the key questions, so my name is Radhika Balakrishnan and I am an executive coach, and thank you so much. So I train people on this same space of building values and being purpose driven. So one of the questions which I always encounter is, especially in large organizations, when it is pretty much management driven, purpose is pretty clear at the management level, but when it has to come down and percolate deep down, it becomes a challenge, and then it somewhere gets lost in the transition. So for a large company to grow bigger, and especially India growing to the next level of its growth, how do you suggest that this kind of growth purpose can be actually percolated deep down, so that right from the bottom level to the top level are united in this whole space, even though the ecosystem may or may not have that bandwidth to support?
Well, that's a good question. You know, in 1992, we conducted the first exercise in innovation at Infosys. It's 33 years ago. We, a few of us leaders, we explained what is innovation, what is invention, how will it help, etc. We did it in 4 languages, simultaneous translation. We spoke in English, it was translated to Kannada, Tamil and Hindi, because we had employees from speaking these 4 languages. After a couple of days, there was one of the janitors in Infosys by name Chandrapa. Even now he is working there. Young fellow then. He came to my room and said, you know, you people spoke about some innovation and all of that. Yeah, it was translated to Kannada, but I really didn't understand it. Can you explain? I said, yeah, please sit down. I said, Chandrapa, you are in charge of cleaning 8 conference rooms every day. And my own belief is that innovation cannot be the prerogative or the right of only quality department. Every human being, every employee in the company has to embrace innovation, has to understand innovation, and has to actionize innovation. I said, look, you clean these conference rooms. Tomorrow morning when you go to a conference room, see if we can use 2 hands and two cloths and 2 hands to clean the table, conference room table. Because today you are using only 1 hand and 1 piece of cloth. if you start doing that, you will reduce the time taken probably by 30%, because that it takes a little bit of practice. So, the first question that every employee in the company has to ask is, whatever I do, I may do very advanced strategic stuff, I may do finance, HR, software development, does not matter, manufacturing, whatever. Simply ask this question, whatever I am doing today, can I do it faster tomorrow? Just write that question. I told you. Second, I said, the next question you have to ask is, whatever I am doing today, can I do it cheaper tomorrow? It may be tomorrow, next week, next month, does not matter, because some certain things take lot more time than doing it quickly. So, I said, when you finished your work today or at lunchtime, go to the shop nearby. We were at Ready Building then, not in Electronic City, that is in Koramangala, and go to the shop and find out if there is a new cleaning liquid which is cheaper and which cleans as well as what you are using today, or whether there is a new cleaning liquid which is stronger, which is better, which you will use less of, so that you can use it for longer period. Then buy that and use it from tomorrow. Therefore, you would have reduced the cost of what you are doing today. So, the second question that every employee of your company will have to ask is, whatever I am doing today, how can I make it cheaper tomorrow? Tomorrow, next week, next month, does not matter. The third thing I said is, the third question that you have to ask is, whatever I am doing today, how can I do it with a better quality tomorrow or next week, next month, does not matter, than what I am doing today. I said, today when you complete cleaning the table or tomorrow, look at how many specks of dust are left on the table. If there are 5 specks of dust, then tomorrow take a little bit of interest and say, I will make sure that there will only be 4 specks of dust. Day after tomorrow, say there will only be 3. So, I said, once you pay attention to the number of specks on the table, after number of dust specks on the table after cleaning the table, then you have already got an appreciation for quality. So, I said, if every one of us can ask these 3 questions, how do I do whatever I am doing today faster tomorrow? How do I do whatever I am doing today cheaper tomorrow? And how do I do whatever I am doing today with a better quality tomorrow? These are the 3 questions that a janitor can ask, the CEO can ask. It is not limited to anybody. I believe the most important result of this is people will get an appreciation for innovation. It will no more be some complex word. They will not be scared, because they are doing it every day. I still remember we were on 7th block in Jayanagar, 40th Street in 1985. And a small Japanese businessman had come to Delhi looking for some software services people, and the Department of Electronics sent him, one of the companies they sent to was Infosys. He came to my room, we made presentation and all of that. And then he said, I want to go to the restroom. So I said, no, there is a restroom here in my room. He said, no, not here, I want to go to the common restroom. So he went to I said, oh, we took him. He came back and said, now I have a little bit better appreciation for quality in your company because you have kept your common bathrooms clean. This is what a janitor uses, this is what guests use, this is what everybody uses. He said, now I know that there is some appreciation for quality in your company. That is why at Infosys we did not have private bathrooms. Even today they do not have private bathrooms, zero. It is the same bathroom is used by a janitor, is used by the CEO. What that has done is, it has brought a sense of pride in everybody. It has brought a sense of high self-esteem in employees, and they go out of their way to keep it clean. Even here, if you go into any of our toilets, you will see it is clean. So, there is nothing like, okay, some, I do not know if I should tell you this, but I will tell. In 1970, when I was the chief systems programmer at IIM Ahmedabad, and I was somewhat left of center. So, a few of my MBA friends and some of the teachers, they say, no, you are a leftist, that is why, sorry, you haven't got a job in a big multinational corporation, that is why you are a leftist, and all of that. I said, fine. Then fortunately for me, Hindustan Lever was looking for a head of data processing, and I just said, look, let me apply. They took us through some 5-6 set of tests, group discussions, all the, how these things happen. And fortunately, I was selected. So, the HR head was one Tarun Sheth. Tarun Sheth was earlier a professor at IIM Ahmedabad. So, I was sitting in Tarun Sheth's room, and he explained what I would get, which car, then some apartment, everything, and then anyway I signed. Then I said, I want to go to the restroom. At that time it was in Back Bay Reclamation, Hindustan Lever, not in Andheri. Now it is in Andheri, those days it was in Back Bay Reclamation. So he said, he called his secretary and said, show Mr. Murthy the toilet. So I was there, that's a long corridor there. There was one toilet. I tried to go in. The secretary said, no sir, this is not for you. You are going to be a covenanted officer, there is a separate toilet. I said, no, this toilet looks, I will go here. I went. And then I came back and I told Tarun, I am not going to join your company. He said, why, what happened? I said, a company where you create two classes of citizens right from the moment I enter. what kind of company is that? I mean, later on, of course, I served on the board of Unilever, that is a different issue. I said, what kind of company is this? I said, however, I will keep the offer because I want to show to my friends at IIM Ahmedabad that I was not a left of center man because I did not get a job. Now I have got this job and still I will continue my thing. So the point is, I think all of us has to remember that whether it is innovation, whether it is cleanliness, whether it is timeliness, all of that, it has to be exhibited by everybody in the company. It cannot be, there used to be a thing called quality function. Only quality guys were bothered. So I said, no man, it's not right. The people who actually produce software or who actually manufacture, they are as much part of quality. In fact, they are the real part of quality as people who talk about quality. However, there is need for a quality function because you may want to look at new models of quality, conduct pilots, find out how much it costs, find out whether it is profitable, all of that, and then recommend. So that is the function of the quality, not to look after quality. So I think if you people make sure that everybody in the company embraces innovation, embraces punctuality, embraces honesty, embraces good values, then everything. That is where I was telling him, see, the only leader that I respect in India is Mahatma Gandhi, because he did something extraordinary which no other leader has done. That is, he led by example. And it was so difficult for his supporters because he would insist on going by third class. Of now, there is no third class in Indian Railways. Those days there used to be a thing called third class also. And in third class there will be lot of people and there will be big crowds, and his compatriots were all worried as what happens if somebody were to poison him and he is all gone. So there used to be lot of plain clothes people who were with Gandhiji, but Gandhiji did not know they were there to protect him. And Sarojini Naidu, who was a, she was the only one who took liberties with Gandhi. She said it takes a fortune to keep this old man in poverty. And that, but it was well worth it. It was well worth it to keep that old man in poverty, and to spend that money was well worth it because he sent a very important message to this thing. I mean, can you imagine an Indian going to meet King George VI, that Elizabeth's father, in a loincloth? And the British journalists were all there. He said, sir, you are going with this dress and all to meet the emperor. He said, don't worry, emperor had enough for both of us, enough warm clothes for both of us. So I think, he told all of us very important lesson, lead by example. Everybody in your company is watching you all the time. Let me assure you, every action of yours is watched. They all want to see you the best human being, the most valued human being, the guy who is highest integrity, highest quality, highest honesty, because all of us want to see such people. So, it is the responsibility of every one of you to lead by example, and you do not have to give big lectures. You lead by example. If you want everybody to come to the office, you be the first one to come, then you do not have to give lectures. So, I think that is where I am a great admirer of Mahatma Gandhi, and I think he was the only one who understood the pulse of India. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Great. I think one last question.
Sure, sure.
And then we are.
No,
for time.
you know, it's no, there is, oh, okay, right. Please.
Firstly, truly grateful, sir. My name is Varun Chopra. I run a material handling equipment company.
Hold it near you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, I'm sure earlier on when you started Infosys, you would have faced constraints where you may have been in a position whether to compromise on your values or take a contract or something of that sort. Would be tremendously grateful if you could probably share some examples of such a situation, please.
No, I'll tell you, we were very lucky, we were blessed by God that at that time 100% of our business came from outside, from the developed world, and even today 98% of Infosys business comes from outside India, only 2% from India. So, we did not have to go and give bribes to the government officers, politicians and all of that. We are very lucky. God was very kind to us. There were one or two occasions where some senior officers from the developed world also wanted bribe, but we very respectfully declined. But they also, it was not as well established in those countries as in India, that the desire to take bribe and all of that. So, we did not face any of that. In terms of getting telephone connection, we had to wait for about 5-6 years. We waited. In terms of, there were no, the banks did not recognize software as a collateral. They wanted machines or any physical stuff. Then we all traveled mostly by train, not mostly, by train till we came to a certain level. So, no, I would say that most importantly, the government did not understand what software was. So, they left us alone. You see, there used to be a minister called Pramod Mahajan in the late 90s. Pramod Mahajan was asked, everybody says there is so much of problems in dealing with the government. Now, how do you explain IT industry growing? He said, look, there were two industries in the 90s in India where government did not understand anything. One was the IT industry, and he added, second was the beauty industry. We did not know anything, so it was below the radar for us. That is why Aishwarya Rai, Sushmita Sen and etc., they all became Miss World, Miss this, Miss that, etc. Because the government did not understand it, therefore, they did not create any trouble. So, same thing even in software, but by the time they opened their eyes, we had established our credentials as people who would not give bribes. See, recorded, I don't know, I should say that. In one of the developed countries, no, I can't say that because I have to use the word which is everybody will come to know. So, anyway, so in India at that time, you go and say something, what is it you are supposed to be corrupt? They say, no, ask Infosys. No, we have never asked them any money. They have not paid us. So, it was, we were very, God was kind to us, we were very lucky, and because it was easy for us to be honest, because we did not go to the government for anything. Therefore, it was easy for us to be honest. It is not easy for everybody in this thing, because if you want to go to government for approvals, for permissions, for this and that, it is tough in India, it is very tough. Now, I explained just now, I told you know what Swami wrote, 2375 approvals. I want all of you to please read that thing. It is sometime in the last 1 week, or maybe 10 days, kindly search it, 2375 approvals. What can you say?
Fantastic. We are up on our time.
Just one last question, sir.
I-
Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
Yeah, yeah.
Good evening, sir. Real pleasure. It has been a master class, and you've taken us through journey. It's like ups and downs, but I see a bit of a hopelessness when you talk about the bureaucracy and the political leadership and the definition of being a developed world, for India to become a developed country, and the culture. And for me, coming to India last year after spending most of my working career outside India, I can relate to it personally also, and for the company which I'm running as well. If I'll come to the question straight, like you said, straightforward, put a question in one sentence. What 3 things would you do if you were made in charge to say we have to become a developed nation by 2047? 3 concrete things. You've given us a lot of things to take back, have a meal, treat people equally, but what 3 things you could do now so that we end this on a bit more of a positive note?
I think that's a very important question. First of all, we must transform our culture. While removing the caste barriers. In fact, India is a country that will have the biggest problem in transformation, because India is perhaps the only country which has caste. And this was created by some upper caste probably 2,000–3,000 years ago. And it's a tragedy, it's a pity. It should not have happened, but it has happened. So, removing caste is going to take a long time, because certain castes took a lot of advantage earlier. Now, certain other castes are taking advantage. So, merit is not much respected in India. For merit to be respected in India, caste should go. It should only be on the basis of your competence. That, how does a nation remove this albatross of caste and bring in meritocracy? It is not going to happen in probably 2–3,000 years. It will continue. No, I mean it is. It's not a laughing matter, but it's a very sad one. Because after 77 years, we see more of it. It is not. We have not seen reduction of that. And the tragedy of India is that the weaker sections of the society have suffering even more today. It is not so much in certain parts of India, but in certain other parts of India, I am deliberately avoiding stating those. Certain other parts of India, the life of poor people is pathetic. The life of lower caste is pathetic. All of us are responsible for that. I gave you the example of 9,000 square feet house and then 8 feet by 8 foot without fan, without window. Anyway, so that has to change. The second thing is we have to bring meritocracy. Today we have given up on meritocracy. Even perhaps at the central level, yes, there are some aspects of meritocracy that you can see. But when you go down to the state levels, you don't see any meritocracy. Why is meritocracy important? Meritocracy is very important because this is a very, very, very poor country. No matter what I say, Mera Bharat Mahan, this, that, all of that, 800 million Indians get free ration. That's the reality. That means 57% of Indians don't earn enough to feed themselves. And we are all, I am ashamed that I am one of the people responsible for that. It's very sad. How will it improve? It will improve if we bring in meritocracy. The best officers must be asked to work 16 hours a day. There must be very stringent requirements in terms of speed and excellence. We should benchmark ourselves with Singapore, which is probably the best governed state, a country in the world. And every officer must be held accountable. There is no accountability in India today. Let me give you a simple example. In Karnataka, we had Mysore Iron and Steel Works. That's gone now. We had Mysore paper mills. That's gone now. Right here in Bangalore, we had New Garment Electric Factory. That's gone now. We had Vikrant Tires. That's gone. Nobody was punished. If it happened in the private sector, that CEO would be sent home. Even if the growth comes down, the CEO will be asked to leave. So, therefore, you have to bring meritocracy. And those guys who are selected on merit must be asked to work extremely hard. It cannot become a sinecure. It cannot be that they can enjoy. No. Because they are merited, because they have been given that responsibility, because they have been given that authority, there is a huge responsibility. Third, there is need for reforming our administrative system, because we are still following what the Britishers set up in 1858, when the East India Company, faced by Sipahi Mutiny or whatever, India's first war of independence in 1857, they realized that they won't be able to handle India, so they gave it away to the crown. And the first set of ICS officers was sent from there. and they were not very smart. Who would come to India, problem, climate is bad, dirty, I'm talking of 1858. So the worst guys came from there. So they were given a very simple set of rules. One, keep the confidence of the natives low. Ensure that they cannot think independently. Don't ever give them opportunity to succeed. Make sure that whatever can be approved in one day take 15 years. Raise thousands of objections, make 2,375 approvals necessary. So that unfortunately, I don't know how much of change has taken place in Mussoorie, but when I see officers here, I see the same attitude. That is the reality. So we have to invite a set of foreigners from countries like Singapore, maybe UK, maybe Germany, Japan, where there are very few rules which make sense, and we have to create a new model of bureaucracy. I think if we did some of these, then we will be accelerating. But the biggest challenge no foreigner can solve, and that is our caste system, our making the lower caste suffer. That is the worst that all of us who belong to the so called upper caste, we are guilty of, we should be ashamed, and we should change ourselves, but that change is not going to happen quickly. There is no need for us to change. Who is holding us responsible? Nothing. And lot of bright fellows, they all go away. Anyway, they cross the ocean and go away. Only not so bright fellows stay here. So that is the reality. Unfortunate, but that's it.
Just to conclude, I think one of the famous quotes I remember Mr. Murthy sir saying is that India is one of the countries where we fight to be called backward. So
yeah, this is the only country in the world. There is no other country in the world where people fight to be called backward. I mean, I don't blame them. I don't blame them, because the forward castes, they have subjected 85%, 90% of people to such restrictions. We denied 90% of the people access to education. We didn't want them to hear Vedas. I mean, this is the one caste that is most responsible for this. I don't want to mention the word, but you all know, and I belong to that. So I am absolutely ashamed, absolutely ashamed. Now that is, what can poor Modi do? What can Vajpayee do? What can anybody do? This is an old culture, 3,000-year-old culture. So until that goes, it's very difficult. So development is not economic growth, some 8%, 9%, it's all bullshit. It is how we treat each other as human beings. So it's a long journey. I hope but there is one thing that you can do in your own life, in your own company. You can create an experiment where you create an environment of openness to new ideas, justice, speed, excellence, fairness, honesty, integrity, raising the self-esteem, all of that you can do. I think the only growth model that may succeed in India is creating millions of islands of excellence, and then hopefully they will all get connected. So thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
over to
Mr.
Anika.
Murthy, for a conversation. I think that was as pragmatic as it was profound, and for talking about things that are made to sound more complicated than they are. You spoke of cultural transformation, of how a nation cannot be known by its GDP alone, and how to essentially value nations, and what does scaling up really require from people, processes, and systems. I'm sure there are lessons here that the leaders in the room will carry for a long time. Thank you, Darshan, for steering the
Thank you.
conversation with such ease and depth, and thank you, all the members here, to be present in the room. I think ILC as a platform, one of the aims is to create spaces for such honest and nuanced conversations, and today felt like a reminder on why we do this. But before we close, I would like Darshan to present Mr. Murthy with a small token of gratitude.
But you know what is most important, if all of you who are leaders who have started their own companies, if you can kindly go and create this experiment that I spoke about, that is a small step. You know, as Neil Armstrong said, a small step for a man, but a giant step for mankind. So I think if each of you say tomorrow morning onwards, I will try a little bit of it, I think then India will definitely start moving. Then all the GDP, everything will come. That's minor. Anyway.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you.
And now may I request Afreen Sheikh from the ILC team to present Darshan with a sapling. As a small thank you for steering the conversation so brilliantly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
you
coming
all.
to
Thank you
everybody.
so much.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can request everyone
Come.
to maybe
Yes,
gather
yes, please.
outside for a group picture.